So the Flora Four are the four beautiful young African American
Yep.
children that were killed in a house fire in Flora, Indiana. Flora, Indiana is a small town outside of Delphi in Carroll County. So the same law enforcement officials, the
Same
same
fire department.
investigators,
When
same
I
fire
say
department.
when I say that, because I know that Delphi Fire Department got there before the Flora Fire Department did.
How crazy is that?
It's
Um,
just down the street,
but
apparently.
this was months before, and I mean just a few months before Abby and Libby were unalived.
Yes.
Just a
So
few months before that, and there are people that, and I'm not unconvinced that they may be connected. There may be individuals who are involved in both, and I don't mean Richard Allen.
no, Flora 4 has nothing to do with Rick Allen and everything to do with the alternate suspects in Delphi case. Possibly.
But Judge Gold didn't want to hear any of those alternate suspect stories in court.
No nexus, according to her.
So, so all of a sudden, like about 3 or 4 days ago, when I've been ruminating on this story and researching the information that we know and what we don't know, um, other content creators and another reporter show up in town in Flora and start putting out stories. And I'm like, why is this going on? Well, it's because the FBI is now, I'm not going to say reopening the investigation, but like bringing it back to the surface because it's still an open investigation.
Yeah, it was
And
never
I've,
closed. And
no,
what my big question is why is the FBI back now? What led them back there, and what new information are they trying to get that they didn't have before? But anyway, yeah, I wonder what's brought them back, and was there anything in the Delphi case that may have triggered questions?
right. I
I
mean,
don't know.
you would think that the FBI had access to all of the stuff in Delphi. You
Well,
would think so, except they were kicked off the case. The
I was
FBI
about
was
to
kicked off
say,
the case.
how
Yeah,
well does the state of Indiana dance with the FBI to begin with?
we
And
know.
you go and you hear, oh, FBI is great in Delphi. We want them. We need them. They got kicked out. We need them on the case. Then you run over to the Coburger case and, oh, FBI is bad. They're horrible. They're disgusting. They do all this, da 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 da. Y'all wanted all of that done in this case in Delphi. And we're just mad that it wasn't done. I wish that it had been done. I don't care. But how well does the FBI dance with Indiana State Police? Or we do
Mm,
have new people, you know what I mean, that are
in
on
the
it.
Carroll County Sheriff's Office.
Exactly.
Tobe Lesenby made it clear from the beginning that Carroll County Sheriff's Office was in charge of that investigation. And then his successor, he got on the stand and he mentioned that thing that happened with the FBI in 2019. So all of a sudden the FBI, I'm not sure if literally, but I think literally shows up knocking on doors in Flora, Indiana.
That's what the report says.
That's crazy.
Going door to door. There are a lot of people who still live right there within the area, that the older neighbors that are still there. Their mother, she moved away a long time ago. But yeah, what are they doing? And all eyes. Meow said the task force guys who shot back at Meehan after Ferenczi went down was one of the Flora investigations at some point. Yeah. That's not surprising, and so what the FBI just honored Ferenczi.
And wasn't he
Part of the
wasn't
FBI
just
task.
he was part of the FBI task force, but wasn't he also like ISP?
Terre Haute Police, I think he was
Yes.
Terre Haute Police
Yeah.
Department.
Right.
So he was on that, he was there, and he was also on the FBI task force that was investigating the
Right.
Delphi case. One of the
Yes.
three.
One of the three. So one of whom is now unalived, and one who, I wonder what's happening with his criminal
Click.
case. Two of the three are not viable investigators anymore.
Yeah.
For one reason or another.
Okay, so my question is, if they find any new information in the Flora investigation and they can tie it back to certain people that we are aware of, how will that come back around to Delphi? Will it even matter? All these little girls need justice. I know there are people out there on the, well, Rick Allen confessed, he's found guilty. We get it. But if you didn't follow the case in depth the way we did, you would have legitimate questions too. So does it go back to, do they have the wrong guy? I don't know that yet. It feels like it. But if these cases were tied and there's the same type of people involved, that should be a big concern to the people who were working on that case and to the families.
Yeah, there is a certain third-party suspect who rented a house in Flora, blocks from where that house fire took place in fall of 2016.
The feeling has always been what happened in Flora to those little 4 African American girls was racially motivated. And the people that may be responsible definitely had racial motives, right? And with their beliefs, I'll put it that way. So yeah, that's the whole question there the whole time. This was not an accidental house fire as it was first told that it was.
No, exactly. And they determined at first it was an accident until they went
Yeah.
in there and actually investigated it and found traces of accelerant. Oh, gee, now we have to say that it's arson.
And we have to say the mom did it.
Therefore, yeah, right. And so that's a quadruple murder.
Yep.
Months before a double murder of young children in Carroll County.
Corruption is everywhere. And people, in being realistic to the idea, right? No community is off limits to corruption, and that's true.
Searching for answers and a new federal effort to find them. It's been almost 9 years since 4 young girls lost their lives in a tragic house fire, this in Flora in Carroll County. The 4 sisters, Kionnie, Kerriele, Kiara, and Keyana, were trapped inside the home that was set on fire back in November of the year 2016.
So anybody who's not familiar with rural Indiana, having 5 African-American ladies living in a rental house in a small rural town is very, very unusual. And having racist people notice it is also not unusual. So just don't think that you're seeing a story about 4 beautiful young girls. Their race is important in this story. I guarantee you their race is important in this story. And the fact that it was arson.
Girls' mother and first responders were unable to get them out of that home. Despite an ongoing push for answers, no suspects have ever been named in this case. Thanks for joining us for this half hour. I'm Rafael Sanchez. Aaliyah Blackburn will join us on the news at 5. Tonight, FBI agents have returned to Flora, revisiting the case and going door to door in hopes of getting answers. Fox 59's Eric Graves talked to some of the same neighbors that the FBI investigators did to them as well.
The town of Flora is buzzing Monday. The FBI is back here once again, knocking on doors and asking anyone if they know anything about a fire that killed 4 little girls in 2016 at the corner of Division and Columbia Street, right here behind me.
It's a knock on the door not many in Flora expected.
Who did you just get a visit from?
The FBI.
The news came out early Monday.
I knew there's going to be around because I heard it on Fox 59 this morning.
FBI agents in Flora knocking on doors and asking people about the
Holy cow, they are literally knocking on doors.
Yeah. Yep. I saw
what
this.
the heck is going on in Flora, Indiana 9 years later?
9 years later, and they're knocking on doors to ask, are they knocking on the right darn doors?
And do you think if anybody really knows something and they haven't come forward yet, you're going to?
You'd be surprised.
Okay.
Because here's the thing with these 2 local missing girls, right, that we've been looking for decades. That's the thing law enforcement talks about. Usually 20 years in is when people start talking. I was scared back then. I didn't want to say things like that. They start coming forward. They start telling the information, whatever, or the people they were afraid of are no longer able to hurt them or whatever. It happens. It's recently happened in a missing persons case here locally. And you're just floored that people will not come off the information. Okay. And it's like in these certain areas around town, incident takes place. Nobody saw a thing. Nobody heard a thing. Nobody wants to be involved. 20 years later, that person's older, grew a conscience, and now it's time to talk. It happens all the time. So FBI is well aware of that, right? So this is, it's an effort at least, and you'll never know. That one knock might give you that one lead that you never had before.
That's true. How much knocking did they do in 2016? In the
Probably
fall
not
of
enough.
2016?
Not enough. They interviewed all the local neighbors right there. Did anybody see anything? Did you hear anything? Suspicious vehicles, suspicious people in the neighborhood, all that. Because the neighbors knew the family. The neighbors would talk about how the little girls would gather on the front porch and they would wave at people and be kind, and they were always polite and had manners. They were good kids, right? And so the neighborhood was very well aware of this family and these little girls, but this happened, hours before daylight, so nobody saw anything or heard anything that we are aware of. And if they did the lead go anywhere? Oh, I saw a dark car, but does the dark car lead go anywhere, right? I don't, that's the kind of thing. So right now, though, they may get new information, but you got to try. So I applaud their efforts, but is it too little too late? I don't know.
I guess we'll find out when we find out.
Yeah.
But let's not leave it up to just the FBI. Let's keep this story in the forefront. And that was my idea, to keep the story in the forefront. But I'm curious now. So it's one of two things in cases like this. And this is almost a cold case. It's 9 years old. It's almost a cold case.
And there's been a lot of us out here who have covered this case extensively. But after a while, when there's nothing, no news, the mother's gone, she's not talking, there's a quiet, dead silence on this case for the last couple years. What else could we report besides putting the story back out there, right? And
exactly, that was one of my two thoughts. Either we haven't had anything for a while on this, and somebody in the FBI said, okay, we need to get this back out there, and we're just going to dig this back up and and kick the dust off of it and put it back in the limelight, or they got a new tip or some new information. It's one of those two scenarios. Either somebody just took the initiative on their own to like bring it back up, or they found some new evidence from the release of the evidence in the Delphi case, or a tip or something like that. It's one of those two. So I'm really, really curious now.
Oh yeah, we all are, especially if this investigation leads to certain people. It's really going to make us go, excuse us? We were right? Damn.
Yeah. Well, I sent a FOIA request to the FBI, and then I sent out 2 appeals when they denied it. But they denied it based on the fact that it is still an active, open investigation. But the request that I made was very specific to third-party suspects in the Delphi case, and they said the code that they cited in their response of their denial was that those third-party suspects were still in an open and active investigation. It was specific just to third-party suspects. Law enforcement agencies in Indiana and in some states in general will just deny it if it's an open, active investigation. Public access laws in Indiana don't distinguish between open and closed. I don't like that fact of life. All right, make a note and we'll watch the rest of this about the FBI knocking on doors in the tiny town of Flora, Indiana.
2016 fire that killed 4 young girls. The FBI wants to know what neighbors remember and if they know anything about who could have started the fire. This is video of the flames from dashcam video obtained exclusively by Fox 59 and CBS 4. 11-year-old Keyana Davis, 9-year-old Kiara Phillips, 7-year-old Kerriele McDonald, and 5-year-old Kionnie Welch died.
I'm just going to pause there for a second to remember these 4 beautiful little girls.
Yeah, and it makes me so mad at the same time when I vision Carter sitting there with their names on those little rocks on his stupid desk.
Look at, they did their hair all the same way. Like,
they were so cute, and the neighbors spoke so good of these girls. Like this one neighbor, I'll never forget his interview about how they would always be out there waving, and saying hi. And I could just imagine these cute little girls hanging out on their front porch in their community. Hi, and I'm that neighbor. Hey girls, what's up? Y'all want to have a cookie or whatever? But it would just be something I'm used to seeing. And then to have that house burned and them gone, that would have been so emotional. I know it was for their mother and their family, but my God, and there's people who still live there who see that lot every single day and can never forget what happened.
I hope that somebody has the courage to come forward with something that they know.
In the fire. Months later, law enforcement deemed it an arson. Monday, we walked the streets too, talking to neighbors after they got done talking to the FBI.
They wanted to just know if I heard anything, knew anybody that might know something.
Matt Parsley spoke to 2 agents. Here they are talking on his porch. He lives just down the street from where the fire happened. The home where the girls died is now just an empty lot. It was torn down in 2023.
The only thing I saw was the emergency lights down there, and I didn't know what happened until I stopped and got gas that morning.
Kathy Clendenning says she's close friends with the girls' aunt. She still remembers the big smiles on each of their faces.
Sometimes I just think about the times that you would go past and you see the girls out there waving at the traffic.
The FBI, along with the Indiana State Police, declined interviews, instead saying the FBI is now elevating efforts and have investigators who are new to the case and looking over evidence with fresh eyes. Clendenning is hoping this could mean a break coming soon.
I feel like they may know something and they just need that one person in this community to speak out.
In small towns like Flora, they say everyone knows everyone. Folks also think someone in Flora knows who set that fire.
Oh, there's no doubt. Somebody has to.
The state fire marshal's office is
What prompts the FBI to finally come along and start doing things? And why does it take so many years to get them involved or re-involved? You know, it's sad that it takes so damn long.
Well, it sounds like, based on this report, it's just turnover within the FBI. Like whoever was in charge of this case before retired. The guy that's retiring picks up the file and walks past the guy that takes it over and drops it on his desk and walks out the door. Like FBI agents retiring, somebody new's on the case. All right, let's go down to Florida. Let's go down to Flora and knock on doors.
Every single month they have to review these cases. So like you're saying, with the FBI being there, is it just a case turnover type thing? And we're going through the motions and then now this case has popped back up on a desk, right? Is that all there is to it? Or is there more? I feel like there's something more. Some jurisdictions jump on it immediately. Idaho 4 got the FBI involved right away. They never said, leave, we don't like you, we don't like your methods, we don't like what you just told us, get out. Never happened in the Idaho case. They were welcomed with open arms and the FBI solved the Idaho 4 case. We just didn't like the way they did it. I don't care how they did it. Come do that in Delphi and do that in Flora, if that's what it takes.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Yep. Whatever it takes. And they're out there knocking on doors, and that kudos for that. That's
Yeah.
I hope that they just get one nugget of information, one person that's willing to say, yeah, well, maybe I think this. Okay, let's go investigate that. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.